Welcome back to the post-game spread. Here are a few words from our sponsors before we get rolling. We are also brought to you by Sheehan and Sheehan Lawyers, located at 1215 South 4th Street, Suite A. They can be contacted at 217-544-0701. I'm talking Pat Sr., Pat Jr., and Willie. They can be contacted for adoption needs, agricultural law, business and commercial law, estate planning, real estate planning, taxation, traffic and minor traffic offenses, personal injury, wrongful death suits. And I grew up with Willie playing baseball on the Southwest Braves. We were state champs. He played high school baseball and soccer at SHG. Pat Jr. was an accomplished baseball player at SHG, SCI, and finally the U of I. We really appreciate the Sheens here. Love this guy. Love this family. Great, great family. So go see these guys. Appreciate you. This episode is brought to you by Glisten Heating and Air. You can reach them at 217-341-3129 or visit glistenheatingandair.com. That's GLISSON. This is owned and operated by Gibbs Gleason himself, a member of the 2000 Pleasant Plains baseball team that were state champs. That's the Dusty Bensko era, former guest. This guy's in the baseball community. He helps coach his son, who's in the local travel scene. This truly is the pros pro for HVAC in the area. I mean, this is a who's who of former pros that have used him. Let's talk about Corey Erickson, Jason Worth, Ryan Murphy, Jason Knadler, Justin Knadler, Brad Owens, Greg Morantz, Jason Washam, Eric Easley. His reviews speak for themselves. Call Glisten Heating and Air. They care about your air. We appreciate you. We are also brought to you by Christ the King Men's Club. This was facilitated by my good buddy John Chisholm. We grew up playing baseball together, played on the Flame together, played high school ball. He played some college ball at Spoon River. This is a great organization. They put on tons of events. They raise money for the school. They put it back into the academics, into the sports. They do bourbon raffles, breakfast with Santa, mother-son dances, silent auctions. It's all positive. It's all good. We really appreciate you, Christ the King Men's Club. Thank you. We are also brought to you by Cardinal Cleaning. They can be reached at cardinalcleaningonline.com and 217-679-6567. The owner-operator, Adam Springer, local baseball dude, family friend, stand out at Chatham Glenwood in the mid-'90s. Also had a stellar career at Rend Lake and Kentucky Wesleyan. Cardinal Cleaning can take care of any cleaning needs you have. Home, business, restaurant, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. Whatever you need, they can take care of you. Get a hold of Cardinal Cleaning. They'll do the rest. Man, I got a smile ear to ear, man. This is so fun. I've always wanted to do this with you, and you're doing fantastic. So let's keep the good vibes rolling here. Ready?
Sounds good, dude.
All right, brother. I hope you take this the right way. One of the breads sent this to me. I don't totally remember this, although maybe a little bit. Did you have kind of a lengthy slump one time at Murray, like a 0 for 20 or 0 for 25 or something like that?
Junior year. Started the year off 0 for 25.
During that time, did you consider becoming a pitcher? This is from Mark Harmon.
I was considering anything. Honestly, I would have done anything.
Yeah.
Pretty
brutal.
Any baseball player can tell you, slumps are going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think until you go through something like that, you don't really, especially the extent of that, because 0 for 25, dude, that's like a month without a hit.
Yeah.
Without getting a base knock.
Yeah.
And there were a few times where I legitimately thought I may never get a base knock ever again. Yeah. And the tip of it was, I'm not going to say icing on the cake, because cake is nice, and this was just not nice. The tip of the iceberg was we went to Nicholls State in Louisiana, maybe?
Yeah, it's in Louisiana. Yeah,
Louisiana. And I remember at this point I was 0 for 21 going into that series. And Coach Mack had told me, T.O., I want you to, I'm going to sit you these first 2 games just to kind of, chill out, like get your mind right.
Sure.
Just kind of hit the refresh button.
Yeah, breather.
Yeah, I said, sounds great. And he ended up saying, I'm going to start you Sunday. And so I ended up starting Sunday. And my first at bat, I hit an absolute laser up the middle, hits the pitcher, ricochets to third base. I get thrown out at first.
What can I do? Nothing.
0 for 22. It gets better, Blake. It gets better.
Here we go.
Next at bat, hit a laser to the shortstop, line drive. He takes 2 steps up the middle, boom, catches it. 0 for 23.
Yeah.
Next at bat, laser to left field. Dude literally doesn't have to move. Boom, right in his glove. 0 for 24. Last at bat. So I'm 0 for 3 on the day with 3 missiles.
Loud outs, yeah.
Loud outs. Fourth at bat, I hit, I'm talking one of those, low backspin drives. They're climbing as they get into the gap.
Love those, yeah.
As soon as it leaves my bat, I'm in my head. I'm like, I'm off the schneid. This is a double. I'm going to hit a celly maybe because I just got a knock.
Yeah.
I'll be damned if this left fielder doesn't track this ball down, full extension on the warning track, catches it. 0 for 25.
Oh, man. Do you remember how you came out of it?
I think it was that next week we played a midweek against SIU Carbondale.
Yeah.
And I think I hit a chopper, like 62 hopper up the middle that somehow
made it through.
And I'll never forget, I got to first base and our dugout gave me a standing O, gave me a standing ovation. And I didn't take it in a bad way. It was more of like funny. And they were showing me some love. Coach Mack, lost it on them. Lost it. He thought that they were trying to show me up.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And I was like, Coach,
it's okay.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. I don't think they meant it maliciously. So
no, let me say something. You had a great sophomore year, man. 353, 5 jacks. I remember watching that year. I redshirted and being like, okay, T.O. is off to the races. This guy's going to get drafted. He's on a trajectory now to be professional. And you absolutely had pro tools. And I imagine this must have been, so obviously your junior year is a big year, right? This is when you can be drafted in Division I. And I imagine you probably put a lot of pressure on yourself and were feeling that. And I imagine that must have been pretty tough going through a slump like that because you're kind of feeling that season slip away or the season that you would like to have had. Is that accurate, Rip?
You hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah.
I had such high aspirations going into that year because I had such a good sophomore year. And, when you finally hit well at the D1 level, you start gaining that confidence that you so badly need. And when I had that year, I was like, man, I can do this. I can hit at this level.
Yeah.
And, I was, oozing confidence. And then to go into that junior year with these, high aspirations, a lot of goals that I wanted to achieve. And when you start your season off 0 for 25, that's a swift kick to the nuts. And, you're back down to, thinking that you can't hack it. And, I was, like we had, talked about earlier, I was a guy that, wore that stuff hard on my sleeve. And that was a really, really rough time. It's one thing to not have confidence, but whenever you show up and you're like, I'm not going to get a hit today, that sucks.
I've been there, man. That is a shitty way to come to the field.
Yeah. And you get to the point where you're almost, it's a relief when you don't see your name on the lineup card.
I've been there too, man. I hate to admit that.
It's more like you go up there and you're, thank God.
I need a mental break. I'm tired of being in my own head right now or, beating myself. I knew you were hard on yourself too, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think so it would have been awesome to hear somebody just say, "Hey, bro, you're gonna be all right. Like it's good. Like people have slumps." But me and you, it was almost you couldn't tell us that.
I was just about to say I wouldn't have heard it.
Yeah, even if someone would have said it, it might have helped a little bit. But at the same time,
No.
me and you were the type where when we were going through a slump, it was we were doing something wrong mechanically at the dish, and so then
Yes.
after we go over, we're right back into the cage, changing shit up that probably
need to be
changed.
Yeah. Not in a good way, like kind of like obsessively messing with mechanics and be like, oh, if I just fix this, and then before you know it, you're like 5 swings away from your kind of authentic good swing, and then you're trying to find that again, and it's just such a crazy game in your head. And man, I get that deal. I always like thought we were kindred spirits in that way of like being in our own heads at times, for sure.
A lot of the times, man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times. Yeah,
more times than I would even like to admit.
Yeah. So okay. Well, I've got more questions on that. Do you have anything more to say on that?
Yeah, it was just more of I think the difference between guys that maintained that success for like long periods of times were the guys that had that short-term memory where I wish I could have had that, but and it would eat at me. And
same.
The last thing probably me and you needed to do after an offer was go to the cage and hit for another 2 hours.
Yeah, we needed to get away from the game and like let it go, but that's not who we were.
It's not who you
were. No. I was like, I'm going to fix this and get it right, but it ended up being detrimental for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely have more deep questions on that, and that was so great how you put that and eloquent. And I knew you were going to knock that out of the park. So, you have a brother that made it to the show, and I've got a couple interesting questions on that. How cool is it? First of all, was it seeing your little? Is he about 4 or 5 years younger than you?
He's 7 years younger than me.
7. Okay. Mm-hmm. How cool is it watching this dude make it to the show? And I remember, tuning in and being. Obviously, all of us knew you had a younger brother that was a baller, went to Indiana State, made it to the show, but I remember watching him and being like spooked out. And I texted you. I was like, "This looks like you." Yeah. I was like, "He moves like you." I was like, just down to like little things that you used to do, and that was like, wow, crazy. I mean, how cool was that watching your little brother make it?
Man, it was. I don't think words can even do it justice. It was. Try not to get emotional.
It's okay, man.
Yeah, when I'll never forget. He called me the night before. Basically, I'm trying to think where they were. He was with Indianapolis at the time, the Indianapolis Indians, which AAA club for the Pirates. And he called me and said, "Hey, Starling Marte went on the COVID list." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "There's a chance that they may call me up." And I was like, "Dude, that's awesome. Like, that's wow." And like, I remember, try not to get my hopes up too high because you just never know. You have no idea. And so then he ended up calling me later on and said, like, of course, I answer the phone. I'm like, "Hey, what's up? Did you hear anything?" And he's kind of like getting choked up, and I immediately lose it. And he said, "I'm going." And I like both of us, like, I don't even think there were words spoken. We were just bawling on the phone. And I was just, "Dude, I'm so proud of you. Like you did it, man. Like you did it. Like you actually did it." And just lots of crying. And then of course, mind shifts to like, "All right, where are you going?" And so then he says, "So they're going to fly me out to San Diego. I'm opening up against the Padres." And I said, "Well, who's on the bump?" And he goes, "You Darvish." Dude, this is no shit. I go, "Hunter, that's a really bad matchup for you." He said, "Thanks, bro."
He wasn't up for that long. Did you get a chance to go catch him?
So, and this is another whole interesting story. So I was actually, my wife and I were going to San Diego. Like we were planning on getting a flight from Evansville to go to San Diego with my dad and my stepmom. So I was in the middle of our baseball season, and I was in the middle of our school year.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember calling my principal that morning, told him what happened. Like, hey, my brother got moved up to the bigs. Like, he's making his big league debut tonight. I need to get a sub. And he said, yeah, absolutely. Like, that's fine. Do you have anybody in mind? And I'm like, no. And so like, I'm trying to call subs left and right, can't get one. And I said, dude, I can't get one. And he said, is there any way that you can come to the school to get things started? And then once I can get you coverage, then you can bounce. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Like, our flight's not, we're not looking at flights till the afternoon. It's a night game. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I show up to North High School. There's a power outage. Our school is completely without power. No lights, no nothing. Nothing's working. And I have 32 kids relying on me. And I remember my principal telling me, hey, I know what's going on. I'm doing everything I can to try to get you coverage. I don't have anybody. And I said, dude, I have to go. Like, I'm trying to get on this flight. And he said, you do what you have to do, but I'm just telling you, I don't have anybody to cover your class. And I was like, could this happen at any worse of a time?
Yeah. So what happened? How'd this go?
So I ended up having to stay, and I couldn't get the flight because I couldn't leave the students. Like, he couldn't get anybody to cover me. And at that point, that was my first year teaching. And I got hired a week before school started. So I wasn't technically the full-time teacher. They hired me right before school started, and I was the long-term sub for that year.
You weren't trying to get fired. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to, not get hired the next year. And so I'm like kind of at the mercy of what they needed me to do. And so I ended up staying and ended up, which this is where that whole, how can you not be romantic about baseball? So,
I love that line. Yeah.
So ended up not being able to get on the flight. We can't make it to see my brother's debut. So I'm not leaving. Well, I was going to miss we had a high school baseball game that night. I was going to miss that if I went to my brother's debut.
Yeah.
So we go and play at Vincennes, which was a team in our conference. Our starting pitcher that night ends up throwing a no-hitter.
Okay.
And so, like, first no-hitter that anyone has thrown for North High School in years. And so it's like, wow, like, maybe I was supposed to be where I am. You know what I mean?
It's weird how things line up like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Life is crazy like that. I mean, if you really pay attention, like, there are synchronicities and things there's some magic out there. I believe it.
Yeah. And so our pitcher ended up throwing a no-hitter, which, that was awesome to be a part of. And then it ended up, getting to go home and watched his debut on TV with my family, which that was cool. And then later that, I'm trying to think, after they played San Diego, they went to Chicago, Wrigley that weekend, and we drove down to Chicago for the weekend to see him. So that was cool. Got to see him at Wrigley.
That's so dope.
What's really cool is I have a picture of him and Ellison Everett. Like, he's holding both of them on Wrigley Field. Like,
oh man,
yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
wow.
Dude, that's what's nuts too. Is like, after the game was over, he was, behind home plate on Wrigley Field, and he's, waving us to come down there and talk to him. And so we talked to him, and of course my kids are like, they're clueless to what's going on. And so they climb down and start running around on Wrigley's Field and Hunter he tapes his wrist. And so he ended up taking the tape off and rolled it up into the ball and gave it to them. And dude, they're playing like tape baseball on Wrigley Field. And finally this field guy comes in and was like, guys, you can't do this. Like,
that's perfect, man.
So it was
what a memory. Yeah, you get to share that with them someday. You guys were playing tape baseball in Wrigley with your uncle. Yeah. Man. This next question is a little deeper, and I've kind of asked you this a little bit, I believe via text one time. So if you guys have listened before, I get out there a little bit sometimes and say some off the wall stuff. This is going to be no different. I remember I thought this right away when I knew your brother getting called up, and just kind of like, obviously you were a super talented baseball player. And this is interesting, actually. Like when I think of like baseball players that I knew and played with, I usually categorize them like, okay, this was, I played with him in pro ball. I played with this guy in college, right? Or JUCO or whatever. When I think of you, I always think pro guy. And I know you didn't play pro ball, but you definitely had pro tools. And I think if, in a different life with a few things different, I think you were fully capable of making it to pro ball. It didn't happen, but I don't know why I wanted to tell you that. But in my mind, you are a pro and you were good enough to play pro ball. So
that's good, man. That means a
anyway,
lot.
here you go. I'm about to get weird here. All right. So there is a 99% genetic match between human beings, Homo sapiens, and chimps and bonobos. 99%, right? Okay. So that 1% is the difference between what chimps and bonobos do, and we can, make computers and, build these crazy things and fly and create and innovate and all these things. It's 1%, right? Mm-hmm. So you and Hunter share essentially an exact DNA match, right?
Yep.
Same parents?
Same dad.
Same dad. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, same dad. Okay, well that makes my point a little different here. But anyway, you guys look very similar. Similar games. Was it at all hard for you to see him make it, knowing that you guys are so similar? You share so much of the same genetic makeup at all, or was it just all love and like, this is amazing?
I think it was. There was no like jealousy, no resentment, nothing. It was just, I remember being super just authentic, and like it was me being just proud and nothing but the utmost love, and I was just thrilled for him because, and not to, not trying to put a feather in my cap or like toot my own horn, but it's almost like part of me felt like it wasn't just him making it, but it was like us because, and it was because, dude, when I was growing up, and like you can ask Calhoun, you can ask Lightoff, you can ask all these guys that grew up playing with me. If we had a game, Hunter's ass was there. Like he was my shadow.
Loved it. Looked up to you.
Oh, dude, he'd be in the dugout. He'd be warming up with us. Sometimes, most of the time I loved it. Other times it was like, dude, get the hell out of here. Like, just get lost.
So you were a big part of it. Like he grew up watching you and going around to games and wanting to be like you and be around the game. And because of that spark, he became a big leaguer. So that's cool. You are a part of it in a big way.
So I think I just looked at it like that, and just
I love it
him too, like knowing, like him telling, me and my dad, like kind of at the same time, like, this is because of all of us, like this is not just, me and Hunter, like my dad was
the village. Yeah.
Yeah. Huge part of that. Like, all the trips to the cages, all the times he's hitting us ground balls, fly balls, like, all the blood, sweat and tears. Like, we used to joke, like we weren't done at the cage until someone was pissed off, cussing the other person out or crying. Like,
it sounds like me and my dad.
Yeah. Like, all right, let's wrap it up. That's how it worked out. And, so when he made it, it was not, it's a fair question for you to ask. And I've actually been asked that by a lot of people. Like, and honestly, what's ironic, when he got moved up, one of the local news stations interviewed me, and that was one of the questions that guy asked, like, was I jealous? And I'm like, no, man, like not at all. Like there's not an ounce of jealousy.
Yeah. All love.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. It was perfect. Moving on. Tell me about your summer collegiate wood bat league experiences. Where did you play? What teams? How'd they go?
So my freshman year, I played in the KIT League, that Kentucky, Illinois, Tennessee League, and I played for the Union City Greyhounds. And that was a super talented group that we had. I actually went and played with Harmon and Calhoun. We were the three Murray State guys that went and played. We had some pitchers from Memphis that were lights out. We had a center fielder that went to Austin P, Raphael Hill, who was, lightning fast. had a cannon. Like we were a really, really, really good ball club. And that was super fun. Got to, enjoy that whole summer. Had a very successful summer. Did well.
Mm-hmm.
Sophomore year, I remember having like that good college season and kind of thinking to myself, like,
where am I going to go now? Like a better league, jump up?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to, make that jump. Not that the Kit League was bad, but it was just, usually the Kit League was more for, like the freshmen.
Yeah, younger guys.
Or maybe even sophomore summer. And I kind of felt like, I wanted to branch out and experience maybe, a little better baseball.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. Like, I remember
feeling a little disappointed in the lack of kind of options that Murray had in terms of moving people on to summer stuff.
Yes. And I'm not going to put the blame like on the coaches. Maybe they didn't have the contacts or what, but it just seemed like we didn't have this abundance of college teams knocking down our doors, asking us to come play. And I remember one of our assistant coaches at that time, he ended up getting in contact with a team out of Ohio for I'm drawing a blank, Prospect League maybe, or I can't. It was one of the higher leagues that was Major League Baseball affiliated,
mm-hmm.
and I was supposed to have a spot on that team, like according to my assistant coach, and it just kept getting deeper into our college season, and I didn't have like a contract to sign.
Right. Yeah, no one contacted you, nothing.
And so it just didn't work out. And so, it got down to like, I'm done with the college season and I have nowhere to play. And so I ended up playing for Coach Hicks. I played for the Kit League again, but with a different team. Played for the Fulton Railroaders.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
And playing for him was freaking awesome. Like, I love that dude. Great guy. And we were both living in Murray. And so we would just commute to Fulton together every game.
But disappointing that you didn't get that chance to move up to like, a better league, right? To face stiffer competition, see where you're at. Yeah. More looks from scouts, right?
Exactly. And I think it was more of like, I had fun that summer, but I don't think I lost that like kind of just bitterness of like, I'm a sophomore. I should be, I had a great year.
Yeah. You had an absolutely good year. Like why couldn't you have ended up in like a New England or like a coastal plains or an Alaska, maybe not a Cape Cod, but one of the upper tier CICL.
Yeah. I never expected to like be a Cape guy or anything like that. It was more of just, like a CICL, Prospect League, Alaska, something, coastal plains, anything.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen. So like, I was a little bitter, but then, fortunately, like Coach Hicks was like, hey, why don't you just come play for me? And so I didn't have anywhere else to go. So it's like, I want to play.
Yeah.
And so played, had a good summer. It was really weird. I ended up getting hit by a pitch, and like I've never experienced anything like it and didn't experience anything like it after, but it was like probably towards the end of the year I was hitting and I got hit with a fastball on like my calf, and it did something to where it felt like my calf was flexed all the time.
Interesting.
And it lasted like a ridiculous amount of time. Like I'm talking weeks upon weeks where like the swelling wouldn't go down. It didn't feel like I could ever like relax that muscle. And so I remember missing basically like almost the rest of the summer because I just couldn't get my leg right. And so that was kind of like the very, I guess, abrupt ending to was kind of a, I don't know, just almost like a bitter summer. Like it was just odd.
Yeah. Did you play anywhere after your junior?
No. So
really?
Yeah. Junior year, I tried to get on with some other teams and again, nothing worked out. And so instead of trying to do something last minute, I told my dad, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to live in Murray and I think I'm going to work and I think I'm going to hit and throw and
do your own thing. Yeah.
my own thing. And so I ended up getting in touch with I'm not sure if you ever met him, but a guy by the name of Tab Brockman. His kids played football in Callaway County and then also played football at Murray State.
Okay.
One was a quarterback, but he was in charge of a lot of the like tournaments in Murray.
Okay.
And so I worked for him, like basically helping out run some of these tournaments. And I was like the guy that would do tournaments at Murray State's field. So I would drag the field, I'd line it, I'd take care of it, I'd do the scoreboard. And so I did that. And I actually loved it. Like it was really fun. And so, yeah, I did that. And then I worked as a waiter at Murray Country Club.
Okay.
Yeah, just spent the summer in Murray and worked out and kind of did my own thing.
Did you still have hopes that if you had a really good senior year, maybe you could have moved on, or were you at this point thinking maybe this is not going the direction I would like it to go?
No, I think I still had super high hopes and honestly high expectations because I was, still getting contacted by a lot of scouts, even after the shit show of a start my junior year.
Yeah.
I ended up putting together a respectable year after that. I don't know what the exact statistics are, but I ended up hitting 300 or 299 or something like that.
293. I'm looking at him right now, but no dings.
No dings.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that killed me after my sophomore year was talking to some people about improving my approach at the plate. And
really?
Yeah, it's one of the worst things some of the worst advice I ever got.
Let's go right now. Let's get into it.
Someone said, you need to cut down on your strikeouts.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And they were like, you strike out too much, you don't walk enough. Well, that was me my whole life. Like I was up there to hit. And I know maybe that's not for everybody, but like I was up there aggressive. And that was when I was at my best. Like when I was an aggressive hitter, like, and Aper was talking about it, like when he was aggressive to like fastballs in this zone, that's when he was, raking.
You're right.
Same thing. Like you could have thrown 80 or you could have thrown 100. If it was a fastball, I was going to mash it.
Yeah.
There's all the other stuff that kind of but I got to the point where I lost some of that aggressiveness because I was trying to cut down on strikeouts.
Trying to appease these scouts. Yep. Changing your approach kind of messed up your mojo in a way, for lack of a better term.
Power numbers went down.
Yeah.
I went from being, a guy that was looking to do damage to looking as like a contact guy. And that wasn't me. Like I wasn't a home run hitter, but I was certainly.
You're doing damage. You're driving the ball.
Yeah. I was a gap to gap guy. Like
absolutely.
And that started my, I guess, kind of downhill, decline with my offensive, numbers for sure.
Was there any thought after your senior year wrapped up? Did you consider trying indie ball at all, or were you kind of just burnt at that point and like, I'm just done?
So I'm glad you asked this because I've told maybe a handful of people this my whole life. When after my senior year was over, I felt like it was a disappointing year. But it wasn't a disappointing year to the like where you look at your stats and you're like, that sucked. Right. I felt like I was a much better hitter than what my stats showed. I felt like my senior year was like this whole season long of bad luck. Like I remember vividly going 0 for 4 with, 4 missiles.
Wow. Yeah.
Loud outs, like lots of loud outs.
The whole season of that.
Yeah. And it was just, but instead of like that 0 for 25, it was like here and there. But then eventually that stuff like, adds up.
Yeah.
And then you look at your numbers and you're like, ugh, like that was not great.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the year, our season ended, I obviously came to that realization, like I'm not going to get drafted. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
And so I think part of me just shut down of that whole, the expectation of playing after college, and kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And to be honest with you, there was a very bitter part of me that was like, this lifelong dream that I've had, it's not going to happen. And I was pissed. And like, part of it was, I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at, these scouts that, told me all this bullshit to screw with me, like my mind and my game. I was just pissed off at I was pissed off at baseball.
Yeah, I get that deeply,
to be honest with you. And so this is what I was getting to. I had a lot of phone calls to like go play indie ball, go play overseas. And I'll be honest with you, turn every single one of them down. And looking back, part of me is like, why did I do that?
Why did you?
I think it was just that bitterness.
It wasn't affiliated. You were like, I'm not, it's not, I'm not doing it.
It was more of like, I guess I might have looked at it as like a failure. Like, I'm doing this because I didn't reach this goal, when I shouldn't have looked at it that way. Yeah. And I was still so pissed off and hurt that the last thing I was thinking about was playing more baseball.
Yeah. I get that.
I turned a blind eye to so many opportunities.
If you had those opportunities again, would you have taken some of them? We've gone played indie ball for a couple of years, or?
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah. How painful is that for you to have that, knowing you could have and you just chose not to? Is that something you've come to peace with, or is that still a painful memory?
I've come to peace with it. Like, it's not one of those like what ifs. Like I think I've gotten to the point where I can honestly tell myself, best case scenario, I go and play indie ball, or I go and play overseas, and I get the opportunity to play professional baseball. But I know deep down inside, that's where it would have ended. I wouldn't have been the guy that makes it to the bigs. There were so many. I'm big enough to admit there were too many holes in my game.
Yeah,
that would have prevented me from getting to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the margins of talent. How razor thin it is. It's so crazy too. Like, you really couldn't understand it unless you played. But like, what a major leaguer looks like, compared to a rookie ball, a AA college guy. It's crazy.
And gonna kind of get deep with you on this, but and I think if anyone could understand it, it would be you, because we've talked about it before. I think me not pursuing it probably saved some mental stability and some heartbreak for sure, because I don't know if I would have had the mental makeup to play a long minor league season or a long indie ball season with that, the ebbs and flows and, the highs and the lows. Like, I don't know if I could have taken it, because, college season, you're playing, 55 games.
Right. Quick.
And I was hard on myself in 55 games.
Yeah, give yourself 100 plus games, right? Yeah, how does that go?
Another 50 to that.
Yeah,
and then so I think, because I've really thought deeply about that before, because it's like, and I've talked to my brother about it. The biggest difference between Hunter and myself were how we handled failure. I was horrible with handling failure. It made me to the point where I was obsessed over it. Like, I would, like we talked about, I would be the guy that went 0 for 4 and I'd be in the cage for 2 hours. Yeah. Hunter would go 0 for 4 and be like, well, let's get him tomorrow. And that's, it was, if anything that I envied from Hunter, it was that.
That's a superpower, to be able to do that, to have that mentality, to turn the page, to let that go, to, blank slates, to still believe in yourself after, a couple 0 for 4s. It's,
I've told Hunter on many occasions, I envy his confidence, and I envy his ability to have that short-term memory. And I praise him for it all the time, because that is something I would have killed for, and I just didn't have it. And like, I can recall, and this will give you a kind of glimpse as to how just sure of himself he was. There was he was in minor league ball, and I want to say they were playing like the Tampa Yankees or something like that. Some team that had just on the bump.
Yeah.
And Hunter went 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. And I'm talking like not even close. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, dude, he's going to be devastated.
Distraught, right? Yeah.
And
the opposite.
I was even like debating, like, do I call him? Do I text him? Like, what do I do? You know, like I want to make sure that he's okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have to debate it. He called me and I pick up the phone like, hey man, what's up? He goes, bro, did you watch the game? I'm like, yeah, man, you know, that's kind of tough. He goes, those fucking pitchers. Wow. I was like laughing about it.
He's already over it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's already over it. And I go, yeah, you all right? He goes, am I all right? Yeah. He goes, dude, some of those pitches they were throwing defied gravity. And the way that he handled it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's why you're where you're at. That's why I'm where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And yeah, that's beautifully put. That's a special thing to be able to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just, that's one thing. Yeah. That's one thing that I never had. Like I didn't know how to flip that switch.
And I didn't have that in me either. And that, looking back over time, has helped me come to peace with my career too, because I know even, you know, I had a million injuries, but even if I didn't have those injuries, I did not have the mental makeup to make it to the top levels of baseball. That is a special mindset to be able to do that. Whether it's you're really bright or you're actually not that bright. Some people are just kind of, sometimes, you know, kind of shallow surface level guys are the best baseball players. I'm not saying your brother is in any way, but those guys that don't think too deeply sometimes are really good at baseball too.
Yeah. And guys that are just uber confident. Like,
yeah. Well said. Yes.
That's something that I
struggled with.
Yeah. Even looking back now, like for some reason, you know, as good of a season as I had my sophomore year, I don't think I ever was the kind of guy that, you know, was just always sure of themselves. Like I'm, you know, this badass baseball player. I never can recall a time where I felt like I was the best player on the team. And I don't know why. I don't know how someone gets to that point. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Is that just in them? That's just who they are?
And Hunter has been like that since he's a kid. Like there on numerous occasions where, you know, he's playing, he would flat out tell me, I'm the baddest motherfucker on this field. He would tell me that. And it wasn't like he was being cocky, being arrogant. Like that's just how he felt. And
yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I never felt that. I felt like if I said that, I'm going 0 for 3 with 3 Ks.
Right. Like you're gonna upset the baseball guys by saying that, getting too cocky. Yeah. Well said. Man, that was beautifully put. Moving on here. Best things to do on bus trips. And don't worry, we've got plenty more serious. We guys got to break it up. We got to go levels here.
Best things to do on bus trips. Played cards a lot. Slept. I mean, a lot of the times that I like, the most fun times that I remember on bus trips, just like story time, just shooting.
Yeah, same.
And telling stories. Like
that's what I loved. Yeah.
Because I wasn't like a huge card player. Like a lot of those guys played like, you know, spades and all that stuff. Like I didn't know how to do that. So I'd just be telling stories and just shooting the shit.
I think you kind of already answered this, but I've asked this now to multiple people. It's my multiverse or multi-universe question where I say, you know, the universe is so massive and expanding. There's theories that there's essentially another, you know, other TOs out there and other worlds living the same life essentially that you have. Do you think with a couple breaks, you could have seen yourself getting into affiliated and at least having that chance?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
And honestly, I think it was good for me, but at the same time, it gave me those doubts. So this was after senior year. I turned down all the, you know, opportunities to play indie ball and go over season play. I ended up starting to coach at Mid-Continent. We get done And that was Calhoun's first year. It was either his first or second year of playing pro ball. So I actually think it might have been my second year coaching. Either way, we get done playing and he's still playing. And I'm single. I have nothing to do. Like, I'm living in Paducah. Our baseball season's over. We don't have anything going on. And so I called him and I'm like, dude, I want to come where you are, visit, watch you play. Like, do you guys have a, large homestand? He ends up sending me a date where they, were on a pretty large homestand. And I remember just packing my shit up and I drove to Quad Cities and didn't have a hotel. He said I could stay with them.
Cool.
So I drove there, end up staying with him, Shelby Miller, Joe Kelly, Matt Adams. That's where I knew, met.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They were all in A-ball together.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting to, I remember during that time when I'm watching him play, I'm seeing infielders, third basemen from his team, other teams, and I'm looking at them. And again, I told you I struggle with confidence, but I'm watching them and I'm like, I'm a better third baseman than them. I'm a better hitter than them. And it was just like, that's where that kind of, man,
damn. Yeah.
So that's where I guess a little bit of that regret kind of in.
I like how you brought that home. Yeah.
So
I totally get that.
So that kind of hopefully answers your question.
100%.
I think in a, different time, multiverse, whatever. Yeah. I sure think I could have, got it.
I totally agree with you. Special thing about, around our time period at Murray State, we were a moist county. So you could not purchase alcohol, but you could go to bars. They would close early. A lot of times people we would go down south. Going down south. Tell me a little bit about going down south. What is going down south?
Man, going down south, that was like an event, like something you had to plan for.
Yeah.
I remember, having to get with guys, especially when you were an underclassman and you couldn't buy alcohol. You'd have to get with the older guys and basically put your order in.
Yeah.
And so driving south, you would drive to, Paris, Tennessee, or what was that, Purrier?
I only ever went to Paris.
I think Purrier was where you could buy beer.
Okay.
Like Max or whatever, but Paris was where you could buy, hard stuff. But yeah, a lot of good times making that trip. So I have a funny story with the driving down south. And I want to say it was Phil Lopez driving, but I could be completely wrong. But
yeah.
So this was when me and Calhoun were freshmen, and we wanted to, obviously go south and get beer. We found out that some upperclassmen were going, but they were going to get a keg. So we're like, absolutely, let's do that. That'll be better than us buying a case. So I swear it was Phil driving, but me and Calhoun drive with, I think it was Phil Lopez, and I'm pretty sure it was Pittman. And we're going south and we're going to pick up this keg. All right. Lopez drove a 2-seater truck. So him and Pittman are in the, cab. Me and Calhoun are in the truck bed driving south. We get to wherever the place was. We get this keg and load it in the back, start heading back to Murray. Whoever was driving, I'm still saying it was Phil Lopez, had zero regard that he had 2 humans in the truck bed. I'm because these are back roads all the way.
Yeah.
It's not like you're on an interstate or anything. It's
country roads. Yeah.
Country roads. And we are flying. And I remember at one point in time, I look at Calhoun because we're holding the keg. Me and him are holding onto it. God forbid we have ratchet straps or something. And we're holding onto the keg. And I remember this thing's going to fall out. It just kept moving over and over again. And so we end up taking a pretty sharp turn at a ridiculous speed. And we lose the keg. Like it basically falls out like I thought it would.
Oh my God.
And all you hear is da-dum, 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 and it's like falling, rolling down this road and ends up going down this hill, like into this embankment. And I knock on the little window and I'm like looking at him.
Gone.
Yeah. And so he opens, he's like, what? And I go, we just lost the keg. What do you mean you lost the keg? I go, it fell out. Jeff Gordon here driving like a maniac. And so he stops, pulls over, tells me and Calhoun to go out and get it, like look for it. So we go down this hill, this embankment, and we are looking for a keg. And thank God no person like pulled up and is like, what are you guys looking for? Oh, we lost a keg.
Right.
Shit you not, couldn't find it.
What? It was gone?
I had no idea where it went. No clue.
Still there.
We lost a keg down the side of a hill.
Oh, man.
And so, like, we just get back and we're like, bro, like, I don't know. Can't find it. And so I'm not even joking. Turned around, drove back to the gas station. Didn't buy a keg, just got some cases of beer.
That's perfect. That's a great going south story. And I remember, like making young guys drive us down there sometimes. Like if you were an upperclassman, like, all right, you want some? Like you're going to drive me down there. And, yeah, I mean, like literally walking out there with hundreds of dollars worth of booze, like, loading up for weeks, guys,
Absolutely.
For the whole team. Do you have anything funny or unique about Murray that you want to share? You think would just be like worth talking about?
Man, I feel like just the whole Murray State experience was unique. Like It's hard to even kind of put it all into one certain event. Like, I mean, hell, even driving south, like how many schools do you know where you did that?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's a pretty broad. It's a pretty broad question. I should have singled that down to something there.
Yeah, it's hard. Like just Murray was the prototypical like college town. Like when we were there, it was like there was nothing going on.
You're right.
Like when students were not in session, Murray was, it was nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just very quaint, very just unique, like everything about it. And that's what's crazy is especially, since you hadn't been back since this last trip, like seeing it now, it's mind blowing.
It was trippy. Yeah, it was trippy. It was really trippy, man.
It's like a booming metropolis now.
It is. And there's been upgrades to the athletic facilities. And like, I appreciated that some things were the same, but some things had gotten better too. Like, Nico's doing a great job. Coach Skirka is doing a fantastic job with that program. I'm really proud to have been a bred and be a part of it in some small way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. It definitely come a long way for sure.
Yeah. So 1012, that was my apartment. A lot of funny stories came out of there. I mean, most of them we can't tell, but is there anything you feel like sharing about that or a funny story that you remember from 1012 that you think would be worth?
Not even a story. The best thing, and I have yet to see anything.
Let's go. I know what you're going to.
The dip can baseball field. And I'm talking this should be in an art museum. This was a thing of beauty. Like, yeah.
Thank you.
You have a bright, bright future with the artwork of dip cans.
let me I'm so glad you brought this up because I don't think I've got to talk about it, but I saw something on like some sort of a college website. Someone had made some sort of a dip can art of something, whether it was like a basketball court or something like that. And I was like, oh boy, I know what we're doing. Like 3 out of the 4 of us in that apartment were dippers. And we all were different flavors. I think Sella was mint, I was wintergreen, and Lucas was natural maybe. But when we started like needing to color coordinate stuff, we would all come together and like get a certain flavor. Like we did citrus for a while to get certain things, but we had a wall that was made out of dip cans, empty dip cans. Like, I mean, it was, I'll post it to the website, but we had like batters boxes, dugouts, bat girls, like batter's eye, foul poles. Like it took a while. It was really special. I'm glad you brought that up. One of my greatest artistic achievements of my life.
Oh, I'm telling you, like, and that's the thing is us talking about it doesn't even do it justice. Like when you see a picture of it, it's like, oh wow, like it's a baseball field. Like
It's yeah. If
color, the color coordinated cans is what just
popped
you know,
it.
I mean, it separated it from everything else because it was insane. It was perfect.
Thank you, buddy. A lot of love went into that. A lot of time, a lot of raw lips went into that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, great. Oh, so funny thing. All right, tell me about the Murray State ball cleaner. You remember that thing?
The like bingo erasers or whatever. I'll be honest. Like, first thought, had you ever seen anything like that before?
I've never seen one before. I've never seen one since.
All right, same. I'm sure that we're probably, you know,
You and I have seen a lot of baseball too between us collectively.
like, you know, we haven't seen things like
Right.
I'd never even heard of it, and then to see it, it was kind of like, hold on, wait, what? What does this do? And then, you know, Coach Matt goes into this huge explanation as to how it cleans the balls, and then you know demonstrates. And I'll be honest with you, it worked. And
It worked.
But I would have never thought of making that or even considered making it.
Was it a relic from Coach Reagan? I thought it was.
It might have been.
So what it was this like kind of wooden box thing with like this handle, and you would pour the baseballs in it, and there was some sort of like a metal thing that kind of agitated them inside the box, and it was a bunch of school erasers, wasn't it? Like those pink erasers.
I'm talking like thousands of erasers.
Yes, it was big, and it would just you wind them up.
Yeah.
But what's funny about it is that, you know, I don't think Mississippi State or UK is doing something like that, right? The discrepancy between Division I schools was wild at times when it came to stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think Wes touched on it in his podcast. Like, I 100% remember, you know, stealing baseballs from.
Oh God, yeah.
Every time we went to an SEC school, like you know, those guys are like, I'm pretty sure they haven't thrown any of those balls in. Nope, they're all in our bags.
That's so true, man. The pitchers would be relentless just taking balls. I mean, they'd come back with, you know. All right, moving on. Here's another D Hill. Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it?
Indeed, yes. So when you asked Aper that, he gave this amazing baseball-related answer.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
And like he said it so eloquently, and I never would have even thought about that. And then now, whenever I knew you were going to ask it, I was like, how am I going to beat that? There's no way I can beat that.
It was. I thought Aper was just going to laugh at it too, but he went into he had something ready. Like he went into speed and all this stuff. Yeah, it was great.
Damn, dude, that was a good answer.
Right. Where Wes just goes, what? D Hill's an idiot. And then he moved on, I think. Yeah. Perfect. All right.
40-year-old virgin.
Yeah. I don't think Aper got the reference.
No.
I don't think, but he's like 32 years old. Like he probably has never seen that movie, you know? All right. Perfect. Best baseball movie, worst baseball movie.
Whew, that's a tough one, man.
And you can give me a couple of your best if you want to, because I have a hard time naming my favorite. There's like a handful that I really love.
Yeah, Sandlot is for sure up there.
Mm-hmm.
Bull Durham's up there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm a big fan of the Major League movies. Love those.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Let's see. Even though it gets to the more like romantic side and kind of the, I guess
For the love of the game.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Like I know there's like a lot of slow parts in it, but the baseball parts are just phenomenal. Like
wait, of Major League?
Yeah, For Love of the Game.
Oh, For Love of the Game. Okay, yeah, that's where you were going with that. Yeah, for sure.
For Love of the Game, yeah. And Kevin Costner just looks like a ball player.
Thank you. I always talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Doesn't he? He moves well. Yeah.
He has a good the mechanics of his throwing.
It looks legit. Yeah.
He looks like he played baseball.
Yeah, I actually read there's a book, I think it's called The Church of Baseball, and it's all about how the creator of Bull Durham, the movie, the writer director Ron Shelton, how they put it together and whatnot, and they were raving about him. They said he actually hit a few balls out. So I mean, to be able to hit a ball out of a professional yard, you have to be generating some bat speed. You can't fake that.
No.
So yeah, I was always really impressed with how he threw, how he hit. He moved like an athlete. I think the best baseball actor athlete that we've seen.
Definitely. Yeah. And then if I'm going like old school, I like The Natural. That's a good one.
Oh, so good, man. So good. Robert Redford didn't look bad either.
No, Swing looked good.
Yeah.
Worst. And what's really funny is we've just, so my kids are getting to the age now where they're watching baseball movies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're watching like the throwbacks, which they love The Sandlot, but then they also love like Rookie of the Year.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, one that I liked it as a kid, rewatching it as an adult, it just is cringe.
Rookie of the Year.
Angels in the Outfield.
Yes, I totally agree with you, man. It's not so good as an adult.
My kids freaking love it though. I've watched it, I'm not joking, probably 75 times within like the month. And what's really it's funny too, because they're 7, they have a hard time separating like acting with real life.
Yeah.
And so they will talk to me about, in Rookie of the Year, is Chet Steadman still pitching? And I'm like, no, Chet Steadman isn't a real pitcher. Well, yeah, he is. He pitches for the Cubs. And I'm like, no, Chet Steadman is Gary Busey, and Gary Busey is like, clinically insane. I'm pretty sure now. I don't know. The last time I saw like anything on him was like, I think on TMZ, and he was like losing his mind.
Oh yeah. He's been losing his grips on reality for many years. I think he had like some kind of a brain injury a long time ago, and it totally like fundamentally changed him as a person.
Yeah. And so they have a difficult time separating. And so they think a lot of these guys are like real people, real baseball players. But then it throws them for a loop too, because they've watched Little Big League, and then Ken Griffey Jr.'s in that movie. And then they asked me like, well, what about him? I'm like, all right, this is going to get super confusing, guys. But yes, that guy's a real baseball player.
Right. Now I'm going to do the opposite. Right.
Yeah, so I've wrecked their world.
We don't know what Daddy's talking about.
So Henry Rowan-Gardner's real. No, buddy. He's not.
But Ken Griffey is real.
Yeah.
I put April on the spot on this. Are you a reader at all? Do you have any books that you like to read, or any good baseball books or sports psychology or anything that you want to throw out there?
So I am. I hated reading, basically all the way up until like freshman, sophomore year of high school. My dad started getting me books and just, said, hey, you need to look at this. I think it'd help out with some stuff. So he kind of, lit that fire in me to start, dabbling in reading. And then I figured out when I was reading things that I was actually interested in, I enjoyed it. It was the other stuff, like when I'm reading shit that is not interesting, that I'm told to read, that's where I'm not good. So, some of my favorites, like one of the top books that I've read, it's been out for a while, but Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Man, that's an inspirational book, man. That'll light you on fire, won't it?
Yes. Like life changer.
Yeah.
Toughness, Jay Billis, great one.
Okay.
Trying to think. Mamba Mentality, the Kobe Bryant book.
Yep.
Phenomenal. So I was, and I know, I think you and Aper mentioned it, but The Mental Game of Baseball, I refer back to that.
The Bible.
This day. Like even
baseball Bible. Yeah.
And so we actually do a book study with our high school kids, and that's a go-to always. And we have kids that actually they love it, and we buy them a copy that they get to keep, and so they highlight certain things that they like. So I still refer back to my copy of it.
Beautiful.
Like things that I highlighted when I was in college. So it's kind of cool.
I always recommend that book to people that know me, if they have like young kids that are really starting to get into baseball, I'm like, read that to them. Or there's also the same author, Harvey Dorfman, it's like the mental keys to hitting or something like that too. And it's phenomenal.
I have that one too.
I love that one. I've given that book away so many times and then I just rebuy it. I swear to God.
Oh yeah. And another big one for me, and it's still what's kind of crazy is it still has a lot of good principles even in today's time, but is the Ted Williams Book of Hitting.
Yes, dude. Oh, here we go. Let's get nerdy. Man.
A lot of great stuff in there.
Just that he was, that
he was so before his time.
Yeah, because what we've discovered is all the thinking of swinging down and linear hitting and knob to the ball was so incorrect. And Ted Williams was always talking about swinging slightly up at the ball, meeting it. And he was met with a lot of opposition of like, that's wrong. You're just Ted Williams. You're just amazing because you're Ted Williams. That's not right. But that book stands up. It's in my bathroom right now.
I have it. Yeah, I have it in my basement with me right now, and I take things out of there that I still talk to my hitters about right now.
Yeah, I do consider.
My dad bought me that my sophomore year of high school.
Really, I love it, dude. We're gonna circle back to that because we're gonna talk about I'm gonna ask. You know what? Might as well just ask it. Let's go top 5 greatest hitters of all time.
Man, that is so hard because I'm such a baseball nerd like you that I have so many people in my head. Like Ted Williams, he's up there for sure. Pete Rose. Pete Rose could rake. Tony Gwynn. But then you think of your guys that people most likely wouldn't say, like Ichiro.
Oh yeah.
What's
that? Yeah.
This one, I got 2 guys that were like my favorite right-handed hitters that I loved watching: Miguel Cabrera, Manny Ramirez.
Dude, yeah, all time.
And then a guy that I was obsessed with in that King Griffey Jr. Mariners time period, Edgar Martinez.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I remember there was all kinds of articles about how invested he was in hitting, and he would do eye exercises, and he was an absolute, Jedi master of his craft, way into it.
Yes. So, if I have to narrow it down, I say just if we're going hitters only, we're not talking like home runs, right? Just flat out hitters.
Well, that's the interesting part too, because when I think greatest hitters of all time, I want to combine the ability to hit for average and power. I think that is a complete hitter to me.
Yeah. Okay.
But you don't have to. If you just want to, you can make your own stipulations, obviously.
Yeah. And that's so. If you're doing it with home run hitters and average, I think Miguel Cabrera has got to be up there. That dude. Some of the numbers he was putting up,
his prime. Dude, I was thinking about this on my walk this morning, and I was putting him into categories of greatest hitters of all time, greatest primes of people's careers, greatest right-handed hitters. I was just thinking to myself in my head.
Yeah,
but absolutely. It's fun to think about.
You have Mickey Mantle, King Griffey Jr. God, if he could have stayed healthy.
Oh man. Yeah. Pujols' prime was just absolutely unreal.
Yeah. Pujols. Yeah. I know I did not narrow that down to 5.
We just start talking about hitters. That's fine. That's such a broad question.
Hitters, right now, Ohtani, some of the things he's doing, it's just absurd. And
okay. Let me do this then. What are a handful of your favorite swings? Just how they looked. You loved their swing.
I loved Manny Ramirez's swing.
Me too. Is that the greatest right-handed swing of all time, beauty-wise? Just
because it's so easy to say lefties, because lefty swings always
smooth. Yeah,
they always get better than righties. So I like to go against the grain, and I try to pick out righties because I'm a righty.
Sure.
because I mean, any left-handed swing just looks pretty. I mean, you
Yeah.
could King Griffey Jr. Some people that a lot of people forget because granted his major league career wasn't I think it was not necessarily underwhelming, but I think it could have been better. But like Will Clark's swing,
Oh, Will the Thrill, beautiful. I mean, he was known for how smooth and beautiful his swing was. 100%.
On that same token, Rafael Palmeiro, his swing gorgeous,
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Josh Hamilton's swing,
man, Josh Hamilton's swing. What poetry.
yeah.
Man.
So those are the swings. Like I wanted my swing to be like Manny Ramirez's so bad. Just everything about it. I thought it was very rhythmic. I loved how he always seemed so balanced. The power was effortless. It almost looked like he never got super like fooled by.
He never looked fooled.
Yeah, it just I don't know. I loved his plate presence and just everything about his swing.
Have I ever told you my Manny Ramirez slider story?
No.
It's like a hand-me-down story. I don't even know. I think it's from Jason Worth, who's like my hometown connection. I kind of know him a little bit, but I think it was like he told it to someone, to the Canadlers told it to me. But here's the story. It's like a bunch of like minor league guys were sitting around in spring training around Manny. Manny was talking shop about hitting around the cage, right? Mm-hmm. And some guy's like, Manny, how do you hit a really good slider? He's like, oh, that's easy. He's like, when I see the ball, it come in and then it break and then I heat it out.
Well,
there's that. And I probably didn't do it justice, but that's probably about as complex as it was for Manny.
Oh, I'm sure. So I wish you could have taught me to hit one because if I could hit a slider, maybe I'd still be playing.
All right. You're obviously Sorry, go ahead. Go.
If I didn't mention this guy because, and I'm sure because I think you asked Napier who he grew up idolizing and stuff. So me being from Evansville, Don Mattingly was.
Oh, Donnie Baseball. That's all right. And you actually knew his son, right, Preston, a little bit.
Played with him.
Yeah.
Growing up, and that's what so many people don't understand. Like Don in Evansville, Indiana. Just like your everyday guy. Like you could see him at the grocery and he'd just be like, hey, how's like average Joe. Yeah. And then in New York, he's a god.
Johnny Baseball. Yeah. Right.
So you want to talk about some Jedi crazy stuff. So, and this is coming from some people that would go over there and hit quite a bit. Like I've been to his house cause I hung out with Preston and stuff, but it's like I ever hit with Don, although I would have given up my left nut.
Oh man, that would have been so cool, right?
Yeah. So the story is they had a batting cage in their house in the basement. Okay. No windows in this area, just a cage with some machine. All right. And that's where they get their work in. There were stories and this has been, backed up by numerous people telling me this. In order to train his vision, Mattingly would hit off the machine. He would turn off all the lights. So I'm talking pitch black down there. And he would turn on a strobe light so that the ball, you would go poof, poof.
Oh, you'd see it in little frames, I guess you would call it. Yeah.
That's how he would work on training, like eyes.
What? I have never once heard that. Oh my God, that's cool.
I've heard that from more than one person. Granted, it could be like an old wives' tale, but I've heard from numerous people. And thinking about it, it's insane because I don't see how you could do that. But again,
man, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
What an interesting, it's crazy what the human mind can come up with to try to gain an advantage, right? To try to get better. That is fascinating.
And if he was able to hit some baseballs like that, that's mind-blowing.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. We're going to come back to some hitting stuff here. You're obviously a coach now. You coach high school and you were a head coach at Mid-Continent for a while. How do you coach kids now? Would you consider yourself, hard, friendly, tough love? What is your kind of mix of how you go about things?
So it's a lot different now. It's a lot different than when you and I were growing up. There's a lot of things that coaches did when we were growing up that
you can't get away with anymore. You can't hard coach kids like that anymore, right?
no.
Yeah.
It's just we kind of live in that society where things that were okay back then are definitely not okay now. And I'm not shitting on today's society. I'm not, I don't want people to misconstrue that. It's just, it's different times, I think some aspects are softer. I think people get their feelings hurt. They take things personal when it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
So coaching now is very different, but
do you feel like you're handcuffed in ways like you can't use some things that could be effective?
Me in particular, no, because I'm the assistant coach. So
okay.
It's kind of, I could probably get away with a little bit more than our head coach could. And so I tell him that all the time, like, if I need to be the bad guy, I will.
Yeah.
And a lot of it too is knowing who you can do that to. Like, we have some kids where, and a lot of your guys that you've had on the podcast have mentioned it. It's all about knowing the kid and what they respond to best. Like, there are some.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I've had some kids in the past that if I were to jump their ass, they
shut down,
clam up, shut down, and they're done. Like, completely checked out. Yeah. Where others, if I jump their ass, it's going to light a fire under them and they're going to prove me wrong. And, they need it. And so I spend a lot more time getting to know the kids on a deeper level. So I know how to push buttons as opposed to just being, it's not this cookie cutter way of coaching. Like you
can't treat every kid the same. And I love that you're saying that. That is perfect. Because, sometimes you want to, people like to hold coaches to standards of treat everyone the exact same, but you cannot. People are motivated by different things and people, just how you said it. So thank you. That is awesome. What a cool trait to have as a coach.
One of the best pieces of advice that I got, and it's from a Hall of Famer. It was when I was, ironically coaching at Mid-Continent, guy by the name of Woody Hunt, coached Cumberland, and a powerhouse NAI team. Like, they are unreal. Like, the guy has, I don't know how many NAI World Series. And anytime I was around him, I was like a sponge because I worshiped the ground this dude walked on because he was everything I wanted to be as a coach. And, even whenever I was coming up into Mid-Continent, this guy was an old man. Like, he was old and still getting guys to play hard for him and want to play for him. Yeah. And one of the best things that he ever told me, because I would pick his brain, and I'm talking, we're taking BP and I'm over here talking to this guy trying to pick his brain about stuff. Yeah. And I would say, hey, coach, like, if you could give me the best piece of advice as like an up and coming coach, what would it be? He'd say, and he told me flat out, he goes, Coach, I'm going to tell you, he goes, I treat every one of, I don't want to butcher this. I coach every one of my players equally, but I don't coach them the same.
Oh, man. That's it.
Like, wow. He goes,
goosebump.
He goes, treat every one of your players equally, but don't treat them all the same. And I remember when he told me it, I'm like, this dumbass kid. I'm like, oh.
Right. That's like a deep thing you have to like ponder for a while.
The more I thought about it, I'm like, oh, I said, and then he, he eventually like kind of expanded on it. He was like, every person that you coach, you need to, to treat them equally. Like, you don't need to have favorites. You don't need to, this kid gets this many opportunities before this kid. You treat them all equally. He goes, but you can't treat them the same.
Man, that's beautiful.
That's some good stuff.
That's deep, man. That's deep. I love that.
Took that with me for sure.
Absolutely. Not everyone knows this, but up until recently, I don't know when they made the change, but Murray State baseball used to be the thoroughbreds. All of the sports were the thoroughbreds, and then eventually the rest of the sports changed to the racers. The old Murray State baseball coach refused and kept them as the thoroughbreds, the breds. What are your thoughts on them going to the racers? I mean, would you have liked to see them carry on as the breds, or do you have any thoughts there?
I think it's good that they have uniformity with their mascot. I always thought it was kind of odd how
unique. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Just it was just kind of, all right, we're the thoroughbreds, but everybody else is the racers. It just didn't make any sense.
It was weird to explain to people, but I kind of like the uniqueness of it.
Yeah, why are we not all the same?
Yeah.
So I liked that there was uniformity with it, but I think if anything, it would have been cool if the entire university went with just thoroughbreds, because I think
it's cooler than racers. Yeah,
I think it's awesome because
yeah,
I can't, it's just the thoroughbreds. It's like just cool.
It sounds cool, and breads is a cool like shortening of it. Absolutely. It looks good on clothing and jerseys and stuff. So yeah, but well, let me ask you this: are you proud to have been one of the last breads? That's a pretty cool thing too.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, that's special.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you got the tattoo.
You're damn right.
Damn right, buddy. All right, Winslow, which was the cafeteria, yay or nay?
Yay for time period. It got old pretty quick, but they did have some okay things. So yay for a little bit.
Did you ever get caught in the spider's web?
Dude, too many times to even count, or I'd even like to admit.
That place. Did you have a favorite professor at Murray? Teacher you liked?
Man, Dr. DeBello was cool. I like that guy.
Dr. D, man, he was out there, but a good guy, absolutely.
And I'm not proud to say this, but it's like I don't remember a ton of them. Like
I'm gonna say the exact same thing. I really can't remember a lot of names, to be honest with you. I think you and I basically majored in baseball, and I'm not proud of that, but that's just what it was. At least that's how I saw it.
Yeah, and me and you talk about this all the time, how things come for full circle. It's like I look back and I don't regret where my priorities were and what I was thinking about, but when people ask me like why did you major in what you majored in, I don't know. It's like, why did you get this business degree? They told me that was going to be the best thing for me to do while I played baseball. Yeah. It's like, oh, so you weren't interested in business? No, I was there for baseball.
100%.
That's where Wes is. I
unique. Yeah.
I give him such high praise and I hold him to high regard because I wasn't that disciplined student. Like if someone asked me like what my aspirations were academically, I would have told you to stay eligible to play baseball. I don't know.
Yeah, same.
Like, and I'm not proud of that, but it's just like that's where I was at. And ironically, one of the classes I teach at North now, preparing for college and careers.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Oh, buddy. Yeah. Do you have an all-time favorite player or a couple?
Don Mattingly for sure. Like I idolized him growing up. And because a lot of kids growing up in Evansville, of course, were Yankees fans. Like my dad was a huge Yankees fan.
Yeah, that would be like a unique thing. That little town in, not little, but a town in Indiana was Yankees fans because of Donnie Baseball.
Like a huge group of Yankees fans.
Yeah.
So my dad loved Don and loved the Yankees, so I grew up liking the Yankees. So that kind of carried over even after Don left. Like huge Derek Jeter fan. I'll be honest with you, man, and it kills me now because of all the bullshit that's come from him, but I was a diehard A-Rod fan for a while.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of, negative things have come out at A-Rod, but, if you look at him as a baseball player, I mean, one of the greatest of all time, just unreal talent.
Yeah.
Right?
Very full of himself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get a couple more in. We're about to reach our 90-minute limit here where we got to switch over, but okay. I don't want to ask you too deep of a one here before we get off. So let's do a couple. Number of choice and why?
So all growing up, I was either like in Little League and stuff. I was either number 3 because of A-Rod, or I always wanted to be 23 because of Don, but it was like a huge jersey and I wasn't big. So I was always like single digits. Like 2 or 3, 2 and 3 were like the main ones. And then I'm trying to think, and then I got to high school, 2 and 3 were always like upperclassmen that wanted it, and
Yeah.
like the lowest numbers left was 10, and I was like,
It's a good number.
Chipper Jones, I like him,
Yeah,
like he's cool. So
for sure.
I kept with 10, and so that's what
Yeah.
I was 10 and I was 10 in high school. I think I was 19 for a little bit, but that was because I don't think I could get 10 maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, ended up being 10 at Murray. Just kind of kept it.
It looked good on you. 10 was a good number for you, man. It's a good number. Good third baseman number. Glove of choice.
Dude, Rawlings Pro preferred all the way.
All the way. What
I knew you were going to ask this, so
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Let's go.
that is
Yeah.
a well taken care of Rawlings Pro preferred from college.
That's your gamer from college?
Oh, absolutely, dude.
I love that web too. I was just going to ask you what kind of web you preferred there. What would you call that?
It's the what is this? It's kind of like the
It's like a braided T almost or something. I don't know how you would
I think they call
describe
it
that.
T-web.
T-bone or
Yeah,
something like that?
T-web, yeah.
T-web?
Yeah. Because then they have the other one that's like the iWeb, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Do you have did you have a preferred way to break it in? Like did you use anything or have a preference for this potion or that potion or
I was strictly like a lot of glove oil. My dad had me like, and that's one thing he instilled in me and my brother from like the moment we could play baseball, like take care of our gloves, like making
Yeah.
sure that we oiled it,
Mhm.
making sure that we broke it in the correct way. And so like this was passed down from my dad. It was a lot of just like constantly taking a ball, throwing it in there, like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so like our way of breaking in gloves, playing catch. And then I was always a huge fan of like flaring out the
Yeah.
pinky.
Instead of like, I remember growing up or I remember learning that was the proper way to do it. Instead of that mashing it, like banana it down and that you really make your glove smaller that way.
Yeah. And honestly, I think I did the flaring just because I saw other people do it and I thought it looked cool. Like I don't even know why I ever did it. It was just like, hey, that person does it and it looks cool. So that's what I'm going to do. So, yeah.
No, did you used to like retighten your stuff up or did you like a stiff glove or loose or how did
So if it ever got like super loose, and this again, my dad, he would either like restring it or we would take it to there used to be a place here in Evansville called Gus Durner Sports, and he knew the guy, and he would restring it to like where it kind of like got its shape back, and it wasn't like that like old leather rag that's just like
flapping. Yeah. This is an interesting one. I played with a guy that did this too. You used to wear cologne during games or before games, right? Or something like that.
I don't think so.
I thought you did. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of another teammate or something like that. All right, moving on.
If I did, I was terrified of just smelling bad. Maybe.
Talk to me about your bat of choice. Did you have a favorite bat in college?
Yes. Yeah. So we did that. I think we were Louisville Slugger for a while.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was different for me because I didn't swing Louisville Sluggers like junior and senior year of high school. I swung DeMarinis because
I remember you had a DeMarini that one year.
Dude, they came out with DeMarinis when I was like a junior or senior and so hot.
Voodoos, yeah.
Yeah, and so whenever we got to Murray and we had to swing the Louisville Sluggers, I was like, ugh. But I had that. I was one of the few that didn't go with the EXO grid.
You went Omaha, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or where'd you go? Omaha?
It was like the Omaha Dynasty, maybe.
Yeah. Like gold and green or something like that, kind of.
I loved that bat. Loved it.
You matched it.
So the EXO grid, to me, I didn't like a huge like top heavy bat.
It was a lot of barrel. Yeah.
It was a ton of barrel, and I didn't like it. Like I felt like I had no barrel control, and so like I liked a more like weight distributed bat, and so I felt like that Omaha Dynasty was a lot more distributed throughout.
Did you do anything with your grip? Would you like take it off and tape it up, or tar it, motor stick, anything like that?
Depends on how I was hitting, man.
Yeah.
I did a lot of crazy shit when I was in a I'm not joking. during that 0 for 25 slump, there was at one point in time, I completely removed all the grip off my bat and left it naked. And I'm just like, I'm going to roll with it.
I've been there too. Man, like, oh, it must be this grip. I need to change it. If I change this grip up, things are going to change for me. Things are looking up.
I get rid of this grip. That's at least 3 knocks.
Did you have a preferred brand of batting gloves?
I liked Franklin's, but I felt like they were I was getting the wrong ones, or because not me per se. My dad was the agent back then where he was getting me my stuff. So I just felt like they ripped too easily.
Yeah.
I just thought they were very, I don't know, the leather it would just rip super easy. I went through a phase where I was wearing like receiver batting gloves. Like, I think they're cutters maybe.
Yeah.
I wore those.
Yeah. Like super sticky, like football gloves. Yeah.
I wore those for a while and loved them.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wore those for a while. And then if I ran out of cutters, I just wore like what the Murray State gave us, like the Louisville Slugger ones. They were terrible, but whatever.
They were. All right. We're going to pause it right there, short break, and come right back. About 5, okay?
Yep.
All right, buddy. Cool. We are going to pause right here and then head to episode 3.